We have lots to discuss here in today's video, including some offseason trade talk around teams like Minnesota and Montreal. A couple of players who were expecting to retire have officially made their announcements. Plus, we have Game 7 tonight. Winnipeg and St. Louis, some key injuries affecting the Jets, especially here in their attempt to get out of the first round and overcome the Hellebuck situation to get past St. Louis. Plus, we have some big reinforcements heading for Team Canada at the World Championships, including Captain Canada himself, Sidney Crosby. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in tonight's video. Of course, tonight is Game 7, Winnipeg, St. Louis. As I record this video, we are preparing for overtime after a fairly epic comeback in the third period. Cole Perfetti scoring 2 major goals for the Winnipeg Jets to get the game tied. Of course, the Jets had a terrible start. Connor Hellebuyck decided for playoff Hellebuyck to return, unfortunately. Well, probably didn't decide it, but he reared his ugly head again, and the first shot of the game goes in. Not completely his fault. Now, if you look at both the goals, you can make excuses, but at the end of the day, you need your Vezina Trophy winning, potentially Hart Trophy winning goalie to make saves sometimes that you don't necessarily expect them to kind of steal one for you, and they just have not had that at all. But yeah, they got a couple of quick ones from Kyrou, and then Matthew Joseph took a 2-0 lead. Winnipeg had a way better second period, got it to 2-1, but then of course late in the period, Radek Faksa scored on a really nice shot, 3-1, and then of course on top, right after they get a penalty, and St. Louis goes to the power play. While on the power play, Snuggerud gets one of the, I think it was Sandberg, in the face with a stick. They called it a follow-through. A lot of people thought it should have been a penalty. They don't get it. Anyways, we go into the third, and Winnipeg is able to hold St. Louis from getting any more goals, thankfully. And then late in the third, they get 2 goals from Cole Perfetti, including the tying goal with just over 1 second remaining on a redirect off a shot from Kyle Connor. It was one of those, it was almost like Hail Mary passes from Ehlers at the point over to Connor. Connor shoots it. He doesn't really get a great shot off, but it goes perfectly to Perfetti, who can redirect it in. So, of course, it's really hard to win Game 7 without your top forward and your top defenseman. It's rare that we ever see that type of thing, right? Except it happened last night. The Dallas Stars pulled that off against the Colorado Avalanche, so it can happen. Mark Scheifele's out tonight. Logan Stanley's out tonight. And then early in the game, they lose Josh Morrissey. So the Jets are very much undermanned, losing some very important, very key players. Top center, top D, not available right now. So we'll see if the whiteout can help them get through this. But overtime coming up, we'll see what happens here if we're going to get a President's Trophy team jinxing things there. The President's Trophy jinx rearing its ugly head, or the playoff Hellebuyck, or I don't know. I hope Hellebuck's dialed in right now, because if they're going to complete this comeback, they're going to need him. I'm sure St. Louis is going to want to come out in overtime and be throwing everything out to net, hoping for a blunder, but we'll see what happens. We'll report back later for that. For now, we get some big updates regarding the World Championships. Of course, we know it happens every May over in Europe. A lot of players that are either missed the playoffs or out in the first round go to represent their countries from the Canada-US side. And Team Canada, who had announced a roster previously, obviously had left some spots open, are getting some big reinforcements. Now, we already knew that they were going to have some key young talent there, like Celebrini, Fantilli, Will Cooley, Noah Dobson, Zane Parekh, Bedard, and Suzuki were both asked to go but declined. And now we got Ryan O'Reilly went over as well, so there's some veteran good leadership there. Travis Sanheim went over from the Flyers, Travis Konechny as well. And now we found out today that Sidney Crosby is heading over. Captain Canada himself is going over, and he's taking his good buddy Nathan MacKinnon. Of course, they love playing together, but don't get to do it in the NHL. Thoroughly enjoyed their experience at the Four Nations tournament, and will hopefully do it again next year at the Olympics. But for now, they're gone to the Worlds. MacKinnon hasn't been officially announced by the Hockey Canada yet, but enough reporters have confirmed that he is heading over. So, that'll be some big-time reinforcements here for Team Canada. I know the U.S. team I don't have the roster right in front of me, but I know they had a largely younger squad, so we'll see. Right now they're just doing pre-tournament action. The actual tournament doesn't get underway here for a few more days there just yet. As we mentioned earlier, there's a couple of players that we knew were planning to retire have officially filed the papers, and the NHLPA has made it official. So Marc-Andre Fleury of the Minnesota Wild, David Savard of the Montreal Canadiens have both been officially announced now as retired. Obviously, both had incredible careers. Fleury was the first overall pick. Long stretch there with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know he didn't want to leave Pittsburgh, ended up going to Vegas with all the moves around the expansion draft, and he went to Vegas with a chip on his shoulder, was phenomenal, won a Vezina, went to the Stanley Cup final again, and then of course we know after that, eventually Vegas had to be, the shrewd business team that they are, moved him to Chicago, and then he ended up finishing up in Minnesota. But just one of the most likable characters in hockey, well-respected guy that I think no matter who you cheer for, you can agree that Fleury's just got a great personality. He's good for the game. And I hope he finds a way to stay involved in some capacity. David Savard, of course, a longtime veteran defenseman, is possibly, I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but there's some talk he may remain with the Montreal Canadiens in an off-ice capacity. I know at the end of season media, he had said that, he really enjoyed a lot of the young Hab defensemen and kind of having a chance to be a leader and a mentor for them, and that he wouldn't mind. I think he specifically mentioned Caden Gooley, if I'm not mistaken, as well, saying that he'd like to have an opportunity to do more with them. So it's possible that he may stick around in a different capacity. I know he had a long career, started down here in my neck of the woods with the Moncton Wildcats, and then of course he goes on to get drafted by the Jackets, had a long stretch there with Columbus as a pretty steady top 4D, goes on to Tampa, the trade deadline a number of years back now to win a Stanley Cup, and then signed with Montreal as a UFA and finished out his career with, of course, his home province team that he I believe grew up cheering for as a kid. So pretty good stories there on both fronts. Now, of course, it was the locker cleanout day for Minnesota today. So we learned a few things about some of the Wild players and some of the things we may expect here in the offseason, including an athletic article from a joint effort here between Joe Smith and Michael Russo talking about Kirill Kaprizov. Kirill the Thrill. We know that when he signed his last contract, which he's going to be entering the final year for, making $9 million, they gave him the nickname Dollar Bill Kirill. Well, he's going to have a whole lot more dollar bills to throw around by the sounds of things. His next extension sounds like it's going to be a whopper. According to Russo and Smith, they say that the Minnesota Wild are prepared to make Kirill Kaprizov the highest paid winger in the NHL. Now, of course, Kaprizov himself, when asked about his contract situation at the media availability, did indicate that he loves Minnesota, he likes everything about the team, and that he wasn't too worried about things. It sounded like it should come together pretty quick. I believe there's already been reports that his agent and Bill Guerin have already had, a lot of conversations. They can't sign anything until July 1, of course, but there's been lots of preliminary talks leading up to this to get the foundation of a lot of the terms kind of already in the works and it's somewhat agreed upon. So for Kaprizov, the belief is that they're going to offer him a record-setting contract to be the highest paid winger. Obviously, it would break team records and be breaking league records for wingers unless another winger comes along this offseason and gets more. But it's believed to be an 8-year deal that they're talking about, and it could be around $120 million. That's a lot of friggin' dollar bill Kirills to throw around, and that would average out to be an AAV of $15 million. That's insane. Now, I can tell you with hearing these reports, there's somebody else that's sitting back with a massive smile on his face saying, if Kaprizov's getting that kind of money, what am I going to get? And that is Toronto Maple Leaf winger Mitch Marner. Now, of course, Marner is a UFA. It's a different thing here where he's, as of July 1, he can talk to other teams. So this Kaprizov deal is not official until at least July 1 because he can't sign it till then. So if the Leafs want to talk to Marner, they may not be able to use this as a comparable because it won't be officially signed, sealed, and delivered yet. If things drag on past July 1, then it can be, assuming this gets announced July 1st. We can't say that, of course, but Some other wingers, including guys like Marner, throw in like Nick Ehlers, Brock Besser, it just will really raise the market. I mean, Kaprizov's quite a dynamic player, sure, but, there's other guys that are right up there too. So, and Marner being a very comparable guy who's obviously a little bit older and has more on his resume. Now, of course, like I said, the Leaf playoff run is going to have a major impact on Marner too. So obviously whether or not they win against the Panthers or not and how deep things go will play a big role. Obviously Mitch Marner, actually, quick note for those, Marner became a father for the first time today, he and his wife, so congrats on that. So at least they have that before the Panthers series, I guess, for him to be able to be fully focused and not have that on the back of his mind. But obviously everything appears to be good here with that, which is great news for him and his family. But yeah, Kaprizov could be a big ticket, and we'll have to see. Now, of course, we know the Wild are just near the end of their issues with the buyouts of Parise and Suter, but I know that's a lot of money for Kaprizov. I really like him as a player. He's one of the best, but wow, can you imagine? Let me know your thoughts if that comes to be. I mean, this comes from well plugged in reporters, so I suspect it to be reasonably accurate. Now, of course, the other player in Minnesota that I know is being kind of monitored here for rumors and stuff would be Marco Rossi. Marco Rossi, of course, put up 60 points, had a great year, second in team scoring, but was fourth line guy in the playoffs and really just seemed to be in a whole different situation. So clearly Rossi is a guy that is, potentially an offer sheet target, especially if Minnesota spends this kind of money on Kaprizov, and you have to wonder what his future holds in Minnesota. He's been a player that has been rumored for a while to be on the move, that Guerin and the Wild may want a different kind of center to play up higher in their lineup. So definitely another guy that's definitely very much worth monitoring. Lastly, here I want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, an article from the Montreal Gazette wondering about the future of Patrik Laine. Now, of course, I've mentioned this before a number of days ago, but I do wonder if we could see the Canadiens maybe trade Laine this offseason. It won't be easy given his contract, of course, but down the stretch, you got to wonder if he's the greatest, best fit for them. I know he came in and missed the beginning of the season, scored a bunch of power play goals, but the article kind of goes over and says, he's basically a one-trick pony, and for the most part, that's really not a bad observation. Like he's got a great shot, and you get him the opportunity on the power play, he's effective, but the effort and everything is really questionable at times. The defensive abilities questionable at times. So, there is some concern that whether or not he's the best fit for how Marty St. Louis wants to play and the style of play and the systems and everything, that, with the other players that he can be aligned with, especially with Demidov coming through, like you can't put those two on a line. They to me really did not mesh at all. I know they're going to be looking for a number two center throughout the offseason. But I do wonder if he could be shopped. Now, of course, they might have to retain money. They may have to add a draft pick. They picked up the full cap hit when they got him from Columbus. And as much as, he had an okay year, but, when it mattered most, you could question the effort, the ability. I know he had a finger injury down into the playoff, which he missed the last couple of games, but I know there was a lot of people saying they wondered if he might have been able to play through it. I certainly questioned his toughness a little bit, but I mean, it's a tough injury to try to play through for sure. But at the end of the day, Laine's future definitely appears to be, somewhat in doubt. But again, not easy to do. Is he the best fit? Let me know what you think in the comments. So that is all your news and rumors for tonight. If you're watching the game, enjoy overtime. It's now going into double overtime, Jets Blue. So like I said, I probably won't be able to get a chance to recap what happened until tomorrow, but enjoy the game. Leave some comments down below, your thoughts on all today's news, and I'll catch you next time.